around the outside, win the title race. But I think what we're saying is you can't find too many faults in this Chelsea team. And also, you play Azpilicueta, you play Reece James, you're going to get a performance. Pulisic, Mount, Hudson-Odoi. There's so much strength and depth in this Chelsea team now. And do you know what the biggest thing for me with this team? They look together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This isn't a collection of individuals. They look together.
Good point. When did a player last let Frank down? I mean, he's calling on these guys, and every single time they're delivering, aren't they?
Well, and he's also making the right calls. You've got to credit him with that. Reece James played today was magnificent. He could have been man of the match. And the point is, every time the boys play, because of the confidence Frank's giving them, they perform. And and that's why they are where they are. I don't think they're going to fall away. I think the team's too strong.
Imagine the temptation for Frank to maybe put Kante in on Tuesday night against Ajax, but he's waited, got that right. He's brought him in today. He was brilliant today, by the way. He looks, and you've added that world-class player into already a world-class setup. The future looks brilliant for the club.
He's doing a brilliant job, isn't he? In fact, let's say hello to Frank right now. He joins us from live in the tunnel. Hi, Frank. How are you?
Hi, very good, Jake. Thanks.
Good man. Look, we want to be careful about applying too much pressure on your team at this early stage. But the last time that Chelsea won 6 Premier League games in a row, you won the Premier League.
Yeah, that is a fair bit of pressure there. But we're just happy with what we're doing. We're working hard. We've had a really good. It's great to go into international break off the back of that. At the start of the weekend, we can sit back a little bit now and watch the other games, and we respect where Liverpool and Manchester City are, and that was the gap to try and bridge in some way going into this season. At the minute, we're staying close, and we're on good form.
What did you say at half-time? Because you were sort of huffing and puffing, looking good in the first half and dominating the game, but without too much clear cut.
Yeah, I was a little bit frustrated. I thought we allowed the tempo to drop through the half. I thought we started pretty well. If we get the early goal, it feels a different game. But as the game went on, the game became a bit broken. We were a bit slow with throw-ins and retaking free kicks and forward passes. And I just felt that if we increased the tempo, then the game was there to win, clearly. So the players went out and did that.
Lampsey, well done, mate. Brilliant today.
Cheers, Joe. Cheers.
You must have been so proud of Reece today. He's coming in, he's marking Zaha, his first game in the Premier League. Unbelievable performance from him. It just seems like every time you bring a player into the team, they're not letting you, no one's letting you down. Everybody's playing their part, the whole squad. You must be proud.
Yeah, I am, Joe. I'm proud of them, and I believe in them, and with Reece as well. I mean, Aspie's our captain. I spoke to Aspie before the game. He's a great leader for the club and so important to us. I just felt today was a game that we could get Reece in some minutes because he's deserving in the way he's training and playing. And with Zaha, I thought, what better a test? I mean, every team has players that can hurt you on the counter-attack. Zaha's one of the best, but could we hurt him the other way? Could we make him run back more than he ran forward? And I know I trust in Reece as well defensively, so really, really impressive game from him, and he's going to get much better.
Hi, Frank. It's on. Congrats on the performance today. You think I was looking at you guys before in terms of goal scoring, you're second already, so you're right up there. Your away form's second best in the league. This Chelsea team looks like it doesn't have many weaknesses. Looking at you, conceded I think 17, maybe. Is that something maybe if you really want to push for the title, that can be something you can just improve on with all these young players?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think at both ends of the pitch, if we're really critical of ourselves, I think there are games that we could have put away quicker at home, certainly be more clinical in the final third, and that's something we can work on. And conceding, our actual numbers in terms of conceding chances is not too bad, but we're actually conceding goals out of those chances. The ratio is not great, so maybe little individual moments from us through the season. I think we're getting better. A clean sheet today helps, but certainly something we'll have to keep working on and keep addressing as we go forward.
So look, 12 games in, it's quite a good time just to speak for a minute or so and take stock of what you've got here. Did you think that this squad was going to be as good as this? I mean, we're seeing Pulisic pulling strings now in all the games. Tammy is the joint top scorer in the Premier League. Tomori is doing the business. Reece James comes in today and performs well. Did you know how good this group really could be?
It's a hard one. Expectations or to set them was difficult going into the season. I did believe in the younger players. I've watched from afar. We know the academy well, not just myself, but obviously Jody, Joe, Chris Jones, who we work. That we do feel the club and we know them. So that obviously gave us a little bit of a head start on that point. But you never know with young players until you put them in. And when you put them in a bit of a group, even more so, because if you've got 2, 3, 4 in there, then they really have to step up quickly at this level of football, or it won't last. But they've clearly showed that they have the the ability, they have the mindset, they have a desire to play for Chelsea. They're also surrounded by some fantastic experienced players. I mentioned Aspie before the game and his attitude week in, week out. And you talk about Willian's work rate today. People want to think of him as a winger and judge solely on that. I massively judge him on what he does off the ball and his constant running. Kante playing in there, Kovacic, I could go on and on. Jorginho's not there today. So the balance we've got feels good, which is obviously helping the young boys.
Sounds good, mate. Enjoy the bottle of wine tonight. Not the whole bottle. Couple of glasses, right?
Maybe 2 bottles.
Top man, nice to chat.
Cheers.
All right,
Thanks.
see you later on. He talks so well, doesn't he? And actually, when you look at the job of a manager, we focus on the goals and the players and the selections. Look at the problems you're having to solve, like taking an experienced fullback and bringing a kid in his place and keeping him happy, or the penalty situation they had here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we knew Frank was very intelligent. We knew he'd done a great job at Derby, but and this job was perfect for him. He's taken to it like a duck to water. Like every decision he's made, he was very careful there because he knows how important Azpilicueta is to the club. You know, he's handled impeccably. Azpilicueta is a great character. Like I said, all the decisions he's making seems to be working. You just like I said, I've said it again. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you just feel like everyone's pulling in the right direction.
Well, let's show some evidence of that then, because they did huff and puff in the first half, and it was that one little moment of clarity in the second half that made the difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think the one thing I'd say is Palace defended as they did, but it was a touch from Willian, which is why these players cost the money that they do. And Tompkins is just probably a yard too high, and the flick from Willian is essentially what decided this game. And Tammy's been in terrific form. It's a great finish, opens his body out. Easy for him.
Yeah, he was never going to miss that, was it? We're going to look at it from the other angle because I think this encompassed the whole first half in the game. Just click on it here. I think if you look at Palace and the way they defended, right? So we'll play on here. Look at the positions of the back four first half. This is how they was. This start the second half. They're set, right? You've got your back four, and then your midfield five. Great position. But when clubs like Palace come to Chelsea, right, and they play like that. It takes one player to switch off, and in this case it's James Tompkins, who played well today, but in this case he switches off. We'll look at him now. We'll keep his position there. He thinks he's okay, but the rest of his back line are a yard behind him, and look at Tammy picking up a position off his shoulder, thinking, go on, if this comes through, I'm in. He's ball watching, in this case here, what goes on, and we'll play it on at half pace here. Just there, and it's just going to take one little bit of magic, one player out of position, and it was 1-0. And after this, realistically, they huffed and puffed Palace. But when you come to a club and you're set up to not concede a goal, when one person makes a mistake and it's 2 yards and looking at the wrong thing, William punishes you, 1-0. Palace can't then come back into this game. It's gone. So it's difficult. I understand it's horrible to play like that. They come to these clubs. They come to places like Chelsea. They try and play. They try and be solid. But when it goes wrong once, they tend to fall apart. And I felt after that, it could have ended up 3 or 4.
That's great intelligence from William, because all the young guys, they all want to take lots of touches, right? And sometimes the smart touch, the right touch, is that one. Just took one. You know, it didn't take 3 or 4 in and around, and he just took it around the corner. It was, and essentially that touch, his experience decided this game.
And the second goal pretty much sums up Chelsea at the moment, doesn't it? One team pulling in one direction, and at the end of it, sort of,
you know, this is a little bit tepid from Palace. This ball's the one. Switch the play, make them shift their legs. Now Palace have been shifting and shifting. Pulisic driving in. This is a great touch. Possibly could have passed it. Credit to Pulisic for gambling. But again, like early in the build-up when we talked about players and runners, look, again, this is a feature of Chelsea's play. Driving in, runners, then back, not switching on, alive. They play like a young team in the sense that they're alive, they're energetic, they're enthusiastic. It's also exciting. It's exciting to be part of the club. Pulisic just come in, you know, and now he's looking like a top Premier League player already. But it's that athleticism that they bring, and the organisation in the attack, which Palace haven't got. They defend well, but when plans to come forward, it inevitably breaks down because they haven't got that. But Chelsea have got it in abundance.
Okay, let's get some instant reaction in a moment from Roy Hodgson. He's with Des. We'll hear from him in just a couple of moments. But it was a difficult day, really, wasn't it, for Palace? Because Roy set his team out so well, but as soon as that first goal goes in, that's when you look at them and think, right, now what have you got? And that's where you see less answers, I think.
Well, they did get more expansive, and they had some good possession, but they just, from open play, they don't create enough, and and the top scorers got 4. So it was really hard for them. And Reece James did an unbelievable job. And Wilf Zaha, he was almost nullified. But they did try and get a bit more expansive. But it just felt like the second goal was coming for Chelsea rather than for Palace.
Okay, Roy's there and ready for us now. Let's hear from him with Des.
Boy, that first half was a defensive masterclass, but then you get undone and you come away with nothing. So I don't know how much consolation that is.
No, it's not consolation, but the only thing you have to say is I can't really ask more of the players than they gave today. There was, I thought that, we unfortunately met a Chelsea who had their tails up and were really anxious to win the game. You can always hope, I suppose, after a Champions League game, you'll meet a team that's a little bit flat. That certainly wasn't the case. But I thought if we could have just kept in the game a little bit longer, we might have been able to do a little bit more, because I thought as the game wore on, we grew into it. We did, and we started to pass the ball and play a little bit when we had the ball too. But unfortunately, the second goal was the one that really killed us off, because that was an unfortunate one. There was a good turn and shot on the turn for Michy, but the way that ball looped up and gave Pulisic a simple chance, we knew at 2-0 it was going to be a long, long way back. But I've got no qualms about the way the players played today. I've got no qualms about the work we put in, and unfortunately we came across a Chelsea in top form and we weren't able to get any points.
They were a little bit nervy when you were 1-0 behind. You started to chase the game, and then there was the Tompkins header that went wide. That was a little pivotal moment in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that we were too passive. I thought the first half we were pushed back quite a lot, but we were never really passive. We were always trying our best when we got the ball to do something with it. But I say, sometimes you have to just accept that there's not much more, I think, that we could really have done today. I really have no criticisms of anybody or anything the team did. It's just that we played against one of the country's top teams and had to accept that we've suffered another defeat. But we're in a period now where we're playing the best teams, and we've been unfortunate. None of them have decided to lie down for us. They've all decided to play at the top of their ability, and that stretches us to do what we did.
Thank you very much, Roy.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
You can't argue with him. There was nothing to be disappointed about really from Palace today. Chelsea were just a better team.
He's smart. He knows you're not going to come out here and out-football Chelsea. The way these young players are playing. They defended. They tried to do a smash and grab like they did at Old Trafford. Didn't work out. And he's right. The stronger team won today.
So impressive. He got into him on the front foot, aggressive. I mean, Owen was loving him all day.
Nobody is going to play Wilf better all season than Reece James did today, because he was physical and because he's quick and he's a good athlete, and that's what he gives you, these young guys. He stood up to him every time. Nobody does that with Wilf Zaha. Everybody runs away from him because they're scared that he's going to dribble by him. Yeah. But because he's so physical, I loved his game. I just thought he was close to perfect. He really was.
Yeah. I mean, for me, right here, I think I'm disappointed with Zaha today, because see that Reece James has got in his head. Yeah. He's let a young fullback dominate him. Now this Zaha 5 minutes ago was wanting to move to the big clubs. He wanted to go and play for this club, that club. Reece James had come on his debut, got in his head, and a player of his quality letting the ball run under his feet. I think, credit to Reece James, but Wilf Zaha, you need to see more from him if he wants to make that next step.
Okay, fascinating to watch. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your company today. I've enjoyed that right since 10 o'clock this morning with early kick-off. If you're watching us right now on BT Sport Ultimate, live rugby for you. If you're watching on BT Sport 1, it's time for BT Sport Score. All yours. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you very much, Jake. So Chelsea 2, Crystal Palace 0. Elsewhere this lunchtime in the Championship, Nottingham Forest 1, Derby 0 is how it finished. And still playing in the FA Cup first round, Sunderland 1, Gillingham 1 at the moment. Coming up, we'll bring you all the goals as they happen in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, including 25 games on FA Cup first round day. And we have reporters of the 8 biggest matches. And there are 4 games in the Premier League, including a massive one on the South Coast, where both teams desperately need the points, don't they, Jules?
Yeah, they really do, Mark. Southampton against Everton. And Chris Sutton is going to be watching this one. It's the 2 managers who are the bookies' favourites to be the next manager to lose their job in the Premier League, Chris. Ralph Hasenhüttl versus Marco Silva. Who needs the win more?
Well, they both need a win. There's no doubt about that. We'll expect drama this afternoon. Huge implications. We could see a sacking by the end of the evening. Southampton have been awful at home, haven't won a game. Everton haven't won a game away. Tough one to call. but I expect one of these, if they get heavily beaten, to lose their job.
Score prediction then?
Score prediction, I'm going to say Southampton to edge it. Marco Silva out by the end of today.
Big prediction there, Mark.
Certainly is. OK, Tottenham and Sheffield United. Let's have a look at this from Tottenham's point of view. They're 11th. They haven't been that low in over 4 years, and it's all the 11s after 11 games. Their worst return for 11 years, Michael. Have they just reached a natural end of cycle with these players, do you think?
Well, it's questionable. They're certainly not playing at all as good as they've played in recent years. They'll be pleased today that they're playing at home because their away record absolutely stinks at the moment. It's awful. As you say, 11th against 6th. You'd thought at the start of the season it'd be the other way around, but Sheffield United have been brilliant so far.
We know how good they've been defensively, Sheffield United. Equal best defensive record along with Leicester, unbeaten away from home. If you're a Sheffield United player today, what are you thinking in that dressing right now?
Well, you're thinking we couldn't play Tottenham at a better time. You know, confidence is high. As you say, they're not conceding too many goals. And it's just the perfect time to play Tottenham at the moment. You think it was a blip, but this blip has been going on for such a long period of time now, then, you know, you've got to start asking serious questions about the home side.
We'll see what happens, Jules. 2 more games to look at.
Yeah, Burnley against West Ham and also Newcastle against Bournemouth. Paul Ince, you're going to be watching Newcastle, who are boosted really by their recent form, winning big away from home last weekend against West Ham.
Yeah, they've done okay in the last 3 or 4 games. I think when you look at the start of the season, there was a lot of people who weren't happy about Stevie Bruce taking over, and meant all the fans were upset. The atmosphere wasn't great in the games, but he's managed to win them over. You know, had a great result against Tottenham 1-0 and got a 3-2 away with it at West Ham. So if they can win today, 3 points puts them to mid-table.
Robbie Savage, you're going to be watching the game at Turf Moor. These are 2 out-of-form sides. Both really need a win, but both need a good performance for their fans as well, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not going to go as big as Chris on if one of these managers get beat, they'll be out. What a big statement from Sutton that was, but on the game itself, I'm not expecting a classic, Jules. Interesting stats, Jules. Burnley have...
Go on then, you've got to get it out.
I'm trying to get out. I'm just laughing at Sutton laughing there. Burnley have scored 7 goals from 14... what am I talking about, Jules? I'm gone. It's going to be a classic, Jules. Tune in.
More of this to come, Mark, all afternoon.
So easily distracted. Right, we'll be back after this quick break for kick-off up and down the country. All the goals, all the major talking points as they happen. BT Sports Score is next.